Hey everybody, it's Kevin the Canadian Hillbilly, and on this one, doing a bit of wrenching, yeah. And what we're going to be working on is Husqvarna 455 Rancher. See, what happened was, it quit running on me, and then I found this little spring inside, and that spring is attached to the set screw in here. So I lost the set screw, so I ended up buying a whole new carb. So I get back to Glendon here where I'm staying, and go to pull the chainsaw out of the back of the truck, and lo and behold, I find the set screw after I bought a carb. Yeah. So after that realization, I had to pour myself a drink, and then we're gonna rip into this. So the first step we're gonna get into is removal of this guy up top here. I guess I should show you. We're going to take off this guy here. Then we're going to get into this guy here. And then we're going to get deep into there. So, yeah. And I brought with me a nice little set of tools to get the job done. There we go. You guys are a little bit crooked. That's alright, though. I don't mind people who are crooked. So we're going to open up my handy-dandy bag of tools. Can't believe I found the set screw. I thought it was gone. So there's 3 screws that hold the top on there. We're going to unscrew them. One good thing I'd highly recommend before you do this job is if you have access to an air compressor, thoroughly clean the cavity out before you open any carburetor parts. You don't want to get any oil, dust, or stuff like that, grime, in your carburetor. The chain brake has to go on, then you can pull this guy off. See, there's the 3 screws for it. It's a flathead. It's a large guy. We're just going to set this here beside the camera. Now, getting into the guts of it. So, the next step is to basically remove this section here, and it's held in by 3. We're also going to pull out this guy here. It's Allen key. Geez, I forget the size offhand. Wait a second. This thing will tell me. I guess it's a 4mm. There we go. There's your answer. So to tell you all the tools and stuff I'm using as I go, just to make life easy on the seller. Some of these are going to come out pretty easy. There's a couple here you're going to require a bit of a trick. And show you. So I got this one already removed. Now it's time to pop this guy out. Alright. And there we go. And this opens up the handle with the linkage for the trigger, which is, your gas. Excuse me for I am doing this with one hand, which tends to be a little bit problematic sometimes. But hey, that's the story of my life. It's all how you deal with your problems that makes you a good human being. Alright. So when we remove this screw here, I'm going to show you it's a little bit different than the other 2. So when it comes to reassembly, be aware of all these little things. Okay, it's almost there. Alright, see, it's quite a bit longer than its contemporaries, and also different threading. Now we're into this one here, which is in a bit of a hole. Now, if you have your bar wrench, you can just stick it on the end of your Allen key and just spin it around like that. And that'll come out nice and good for you. Oops. We got a bar wrench down. There you go. I have to stay on the Allen key. Allen key is going to go up top for now. Pick up the bar wrench. Now we can just lift this off. Even then, I blew this out, and it's still a little dirty on the inside. Not a deal breaker. This part here, it's touchy. Do the one little spot first, and then the next one. And then I always try to leave them kind of partially assembled. There we go, kind of like that. That way it's spring loaded, it's held in place. Now we flip the beast over, back upright. Next thing to come off here is the air filter. That's pretty simple. Still a little dirty. Alright, that goes up to there. Now, our next challenge here is to get into here and here, which is that 4mm Allen. And then we undo these guys. This is the part where it's important to keep everything neat and tidy. Fortunately, this one is not going back in there, so it's not so imperative. Alright. Just going to get in there and screw. Ugh. There we go. Unscrew this guy. Now I wonder where that set screw is hiding in there and managed to shake itself loose. I had a good look inside this thing. I shook it and it sounded like there was nothing rattling around in there. I'm just kind of surprised to see it. But I'm going to change the carburetor out, put a new one in there anyways, just because, heck with it. You buy the new parts, you might as well put them in. I also got a spark plug in there, but I also noticed I had two new spark plugs in with my emergency parts kit. The only other real emergency parts I have in there is a spare nut for attaching the bar. Because sometimes, you know, you're constantly adjusting your chain tension, and if you don't torque that guy down, she'll take off on a feller. Alright, come on out of there now. Time to go into the handy bag of tools. There we go. Boop. So that's the first step. Now, second step is going to require a small little flathead screwdriver. Now this is tricky because we're going to wedge it in behind this little tab here. Hopefully that's good. Good angle. Once you get it wedged in behind there, you can lift the tab up. And that opens up this little gap in here, which now you can pull out that section of linkage for your trigger. So that's where it attaches. That makes the thing go vroom, vroom, vroom. So we're going to lift that section out there, slide everything forward, and pop it out. This is a little piece of rubber. That goes in there too. It's just to keep everything neat and tidy. Now our next two Allen keys are deep down inside here, and there's one on each side. And these ones can be a little problematic to get into, especially this one here. It's a little on the time-consuming side. There we go. And where are you? It's in there somewhere. I'm really trying to do this without having to need my reading glasses. Oh, it's in there. I'll just do my bar wrench trick. Oh no, no bar wrench necessary. Alright. Set this camera down at hopefully a good working angle. There we go, that one's out. We'll extract it the rest of the way with a pair of pliers. And this one here, you can kind of cheat. You can kind of move your carb a little bit, and it gives you a little bit of a slot to work with. And this one is a pain in the butt to get back in there. Out of all the ones there are, this is the guy. And I'm going to also get in here with a screwdriver and try to pry it a bit, so that way when she's out of there, I know it. Here we go. So that's extracted. Now to get the darn thing out of there, because you got the handle in the way. So you got to kind of lift it up and over. There you go. And that can go up top here. Now to get in here and get this little feller straight on out. Nice. Now brings us to the electrical portion of your carburetor part. We're going to slide this little clip off here, which is for the start and stop. You see it move there, up and down. So it has to slide out off this little tab here. Oh, there's a way to make this easy. There we go. There's that one. And then there's the black wire that goes up top here. Oh, trying to bugger everything up here. There we go. So that's removed. Then there's the rubber mounts. There's two on each side, one down here and one down here. They have to be kind of wiggled out of there. And I'm going to start with the one on the left side. Push it out of the way. Already now you see how the black plastic piece is lifted up. Because the little guy holds it in there. It's no longer holding it in there. And then we can pull it out to here. And now we see the choke linkage there. Now it's just a simple thing. You got to kind of pinch it and then pop it out of there. Can be finicky. That's why I like using my little screwdriver quite a bit. Kind of got to rock it back and forth. Whoa! Oh, you guys almost bought the farm in there. I'm going to try with the bigger flathead once I get it kind of started. And no, after the camera rocked, I lost everything. Alright, hold still. Get in there. Do not want to get my reading glasses. So close. So close. Now with all these little tiny plastic pieces, you got to be careful because you don't want to break nothing. Oh! Pop right back in. Let's see if I can push the tab down on the top. Yep. Fighting it. It's putting up a damn good fight. Ow! Don't shank yourself with your screwdriver. Highly recommend that. It's so close. It wants to come out of there, but then it jumps right back on in there on a feller. So damned close. I think I got it. So close. Hey! Freedom. Alright. So, put that off to the side. We've got our carburetor basically kind of loose and free. Now, there's two fuel lines that go onto it. One for the primer pump and the other one right from the fuel line itself. So the first one we're going to do is from the primer pump, just because it's accessible. Once it's off there, it gives you the option to get below and do the other one. Now, sometimes it's just easier to take it off the primer pump. Now you can kind of rotate your carburetor out of position and up and out of the way. Big step. Now you can see down in here. Whoop. Okay, there's gas in there. Pull that up out of the way. Now we have the old carb removed. Yay. Okay, now that I got the old carb removed, I'm going to just undo this zip tie here. Put that set screw back in where it's supposed to be, which is down in here. So what's going on is screws in there and this guy here. So I'm going to do the old swap-a-rooney. That way I can adjust this in the field later on. Alright, so I got the screws in there. They're adjusted 1 1/4 turn out, which is factory spec. I also put on the primer line, and now this guy's ready to join the party. So it's exact steps, just in opposite reverse, right? Move that air intake out of the way. Try to get in here and get this fuel line attached, which is going to be near impossible because you got no room. Okay, after a quick little battery swap in the camera, I can resume this because the battery died on me. Okay, now we're going to put the carburetor, or attempt to put the carburetor in there, which is not an easy task. Alright, I got it started on there. There we go. I hope that's good enough. Now I can kind of get it in the little cradle it sits in. And this has to go deep in there. What the heck's not lining up here? Yeah. Oh no. That goes down in here. There we go. That's lining up a little bit more user friendly for a fella. Alright. And then get this evil fuel line in on the primer. Yeah, got that in there. Alright. So we got that kind of roughly into place. Next step is this guy goes in. Oh yeah, I guess I should have hooked up that too. Alright, so this has got to come back out because I'm jumping the gun here in a few things. Hopefully that's far enough I can click that in there. Geez, it doesn't want to go back in there just the way it came out of there. It's just a stubborn. Yeah, there we go. Happy clicky noise. Get that wire up and out of the way. Line up the little rubber boot for adjusting your high and low. And now to play with the little rubber tabs on this guy. This little guy has to go inside this rubber first, and then this little tab into that one next. Which is sometimes a bit in the butt. Okay, we got the first one. Move these wires back out of the way. Sometimes you gotta kind of frickin' awesome. Well, that went pretty dang slick for a feller. Then next step is doing your wiring. Trick is to get it where it's supposed to be. Slide it on, get good contact. And this little guy is kind of tricky because it's got to go right into there, which is a tough spot to see, let alone line up and get in there. Oh, yeah, it's so close. You don't want to bend this little fella because it's pretty bendable. And it's not much of a slot, too. Come on. I think the trick is to lift this guy up and then insert it in with another screwdriver. Ta-da! There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That just got figured out. Okay, now we are getting down to putting the 2 bolts on the bottom, the 2 bolts on the top. The bolts on the bottom are the longer ones. And as I said, this first one is a pain in the butt to get in there. I'm just going to give my threads on them a quick little wiping. So you don't contaminate our carburetor with anything that's, you know, not air or gasoline related. Oh yeah. Come on, baby. Just go to your happy place. least that one I can get kind of in there. There we go. So there we go. I got them, 2 of them in. Now to screw them in. I'm looking forward to firing this bad boy up and tuning it a bit. Now most things that run on carburetor and 2-stroke gas have to be tuned for your altitude. Mackenzie's at 700 meters, or about 2,150 feet. Right now I'm in Glendon. It's about, geez, I think 615. Get that nice and snug by hand. Sneak the wrench into the little tiny spot in there. Doesn't give me much to torque onto, but then again, it's only going into aluminum, so you do not want to torque it. Yeah, that's snug enough. Half the problem is just literally seeing where it goes. So I'm gonna get that to there. Get that to there, hold it there, and use the old you know what, that's good enough. Next 2 go in. They're a heck of a lot more user friendly. And they're just going in nice and lickety split. And these are lining up, snugging up. Going well. Okay, after this, it's going to be the linkage for throttle. I'm going to insert the little black rubber piece first. And this part's tricky because there's a little tiny notch here it has to go into. Once you get to there, got my hemostat, get it to sit into its little sweet spot right into there, and then you can lock it in there with the tab. There we go, that little click, now she's locked in there. Throttle linkage can't come out. Oh, for fuck's sakes. When I locked it in there, she popped out. I'm glad I checked. So, I guess I gotta undo that little lock. So we're gonna get that little screwdriver in there again, wedge it open. Open that up and get her throttle linkage to seat and where she's supposed to be. Okay, now I got it in there. Now we can try to close it. There we go. Vroom, 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 vroom. Zoom, 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 and a little bit of doom for the trees. Okay, so the next part, I always find it easier to mount this upside down. So we got this little pin here, this little pin here, and they correlate with the holes on the trigger. So you want to do the trigger first and then the handle second. And get your trigger into there, and they have little locking spots. So you got to click into that, and then you can go your throttle. Otherwise you can't, you don't got no gas. So now that's just held in place under its own tension. We're going to put this guy back in there. Now remember that one funny looking long one, that has to go in its funny looking long hole. And then the other 3 simply go back into here. And they all get torqued, well, not torqued, but tightened in there. Remember, you're putting metal screws into plastic, so snug is best. Don't go over tight. It's easier to replace a part like a nut or a screw than it is the whole chainsaw. Okay. Next step in the game is air filter. So I'm just going to do all these guys up. sometimes a time-consuming process. Like I said, just get them to snug. They don't have to be super tight. I'm just getting them in there then I'm going to give them just a little tight using the bar wrench on the end of the Allen key. And that being said, it's so easy to over torque these guys. That's the reason why I put them in there as tight as I can with this, because really you can't put much weight on that. Yep, that's more than plenty. And a little bit left in there. There we go, that's the stiff spot. And you'll know when you get there. That's good enough for there. Good enough for there. Next step, air filter. This little gizmo. Seat right on in there. Should. There we go. Now I also bought a spark plug, so let's pull this plug out. Handy dandy bar wrench. That just goes up here on the plug. There we go. Undo that. Which there isn't one. But the old and the new. Gap's about the same. Now there's a little discrepancy here. They're both the same, but this one's got a little bit of a thicker collar on it. Interesting. I'm going to look at the one I got today. The actual Husqvarna one. See how it looks compared to that one there. And you know what? It's more true. Yeah, I'm going to go with the actual Husqvarna one. Can't go wrong with, you know, name brand parts in the machine. I think that's a safer option. Alright, plugging that one in. I'm going to put that in there. Stick this into the... Sort of the Bosch one's just a little bit different. Alright, put that back in my spare parts. Now we're going to torque this guy down, because you don't want to have a loose spark plug. It'll rattle itself looser and looser and looser until eventually it goes kablooey. There we go. I'm happy with that. Spark plug seated. Let me get the wire back in where she's supposed to go. Now, I should be able to do this. That's a good start. Adjust this guy. That is the T. Oh fuck, I had the choke on it. That might be the monkey wrench. Got it started. Screw it in. We'll get most on the scene. Now we can adjust Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that concludes this video. All I gotta do is put the cap back on, tighten the 3 screws, and put this bad boy away. Boy, does that ever sound nice, eh? Yeah, the orange laser beam of wood is back in action. Kind of looking forward to that. Pretty pumped. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. If you have a 455 Rancher, I hope this video was somewhat entertaining for you and knowledgeable. You know, I'm a jack of all trades, master of a few, and there's a lot of different things that I know I can do. Thanks for watching the Canadian Hillbilly this week, and hopefully next week I get to see you again. And anybody out there who has a 455 Rancher and finds this video on, you know, the search, I make a weekly video. Sometimes it's pulling a wrench, sometimes it's, you know, other things. Usually prospecting, looking for gold. It's something I really enjoy doing. But yeah, hope you like, you subscribe, dive into the content that I've got. I've been making videos now for over 3 years. Just occurred to me the other day when I seen the thing come up on Facebook there, you know, watch my video, and I was like, that was 3 years ago already. Oh, that means I've been doing this over 3 years. So yeah, kind of happy. You got my little YouTube anniversary. Kind of happy. I got my chainsaw. Yeah. Gonna fire this up one more time. Oh, first call. Excellent. Good tree. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Yeah.